I would like to say it's not easy to be very active within the community, and I haven't been able to be or have such an active role at the forefront of the community without being part of organisations such as Project Zero, which is run by Steve Barnabas. He was the first one that actually told me about what I'm able to achieve. And my goals that I'm actually now working towards, such as, setting up my own training consultancy business. It all stemmed from Steve. And such individuals like that believing in young people, which is so super key. And also being a part of the Waltham Forest Women's Network. They're an amazing bunch of women who are really supportive. Again, they're just out of this world. So I'm now the youth engagement lead for Waltham Forest Women Network. And with that, the contacts, the ability, the opportunities that come through that is just endless. So thank you, Project Zero, and thank you, Waltham Forest Women Network.
On today's episode, we have a very special guest, Katy Thompson. She's done some incredible work in our community. She is involved with the Waltham Forest Youth Advisory and the Youth Independent Advisory Group, running peer-to-peer engagement programs for young people. She runs Street Base, which is a program that engages with young people, and is also part of Waltham Forest Anti-Violence Reduction Program, which protects vulnerable groups of young people and offers them a life skill resilience program. She's truly an inspiration and is a voice for youth empowerment. Katy, would you please like to introduce yourself to us?
I don't know if I can do better than that. Thank you. But hey guys, I'm Katy. Tasneem's done the best job I think I've ever heard, to be honest with you.
Thank you. So it's clear from your work to see that you are very passionate about improving the lives of young people and giving them a voice. I wanted to ask you, why do you think it's so important to listen to each other? Why is listening to each other so important in empowering young people?
Listening to one another is a thing that is very much underrated, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because in order to have a conversation, one needs to be quiet and listen, and then one speaks, and then that's how they communicate, because you can't act on anything if you haven't listened to one another about what it is. But also I find that many young people have similar views, similar ambitions, and they're doing similar things to try and act out those ambitions, but we're wasting a lot of time and effectiveness because we're all doing the same things. And it's lowering the impact that it can have. So that's exactly why we should be listening to each other, and listening comes with respect too.
Yeah, I really like that. I completely agree with that. I think it's so important to listen in order to find the solution, and that way we can solve problems. Yeah. Exactly
that.
So what inspired you to become such an active community member?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I was actually just thrown into it. So I joined the Young Advisors when I was 12, and that's because the manager at the time and an existing young advisor came into my school assembly and promoted the Young Advisors. And when I was in school, this was secondary school, I was very, very chatty. I spoke a lot, very outspoken. Like, I had all the answers in the class. Like, my teacher would be avoiding my hand just to give someone else a chance to speak. I was like, you know what? Why don't I just join this program? I get paid to speak rather than be a nuisance. And I joined, and that just kickstarted it all, to be honest with you. My first job was actually training the councillors at the time and our local MPs on how to engage with young people. And I remember I was very soppy at the time. Like, I wrote a poem.
Oh, really?
A poem. It rhymed and everything. I remember, like, my teachers let us leave school earlier because they knew what we were doing. I was proud of myself at the time, but now I look back, it was so cheesy. So that like, it just spirals, because with the Young Advisors, it works because they're working with young people. It works around your schedule. So you can dip in and out as your life just kind of goes on to whatever you're doing. And then recently, becoming the street-based coordinator made me, you can't have such an active role in the council and with young people without knowing your community. So that's where everything else came into line, to be honest with you. Like my other work with the community, my voluntary work with Waltham Forest Women Network, and anything else you can think of that's happening in Waltham Forest, I've been there.
Wow, really inspiring. So we know that Waltham Forest Young Advisors and the Youth Independent Advisory Group is actually the largest and most active team in the Youth Advisors Network, which is amazing. What kind of work do you do?
Do everything. So to distinguish the two groups, Waltham Forest Young Advisors is a national charity. So it's all over the UK. We have quite a few in London now, and more to come in London, actually. And so the whole aim of the Young Advisors charity was actually the first charity to get young people on the trustee board. So we have young advisors as trustees as well, and it's getting young people active with their community. But each young advisor team is set up differently. So in Waltham Forest, as you know, we're under our council. So with the young advisors, you have to apply for the role. So it's like an actual job. So you have to apply for it. You get shortlisted, you have to be interviewed. Then you get selected. And after you're selected, you have to attend 2-day training. And that's mandatory. Otherwise, you cannot be qualified as a young advisor. So it's quite intense. But as I said, the 12-year-old can do it. So can 19-year-olds. And in the Waltham Forest, the Youth Independent Advisory Group, YIAG for short, it's our sister group. So these are young people that are just super awesome, but they are referred into the group. So they're often referred by like teachers. It can be like social workers that refer them, or even peers. So existing YIAG members can refer their peers as well. And these young people are often those with lived experiences. So I say that these are the young people that are often looked over or fall through the gap when it comes to creating services for these young people. So our young people are like in care or young carers, being victims or perpetrators of crime. But the whole point of the YIAG is that they're now enjoying upon a positive path and using their experiences to help improve the services for other young people. So other young people don't have to go through much of a difficult journey as they did. So that's the two groups. So we do similar things, but different at the same time. So with the YIAG, their main focus is community safety. So they sit on the stop and search monitoring board, the safer neighbourhood board meetings, advising the police and members of the community about how to really engage with young people in the streets in a positive way. They also deliver workshops in schools about bullying, healthy relationships, stop and search, know your rights. The young advisors, on the other hand, are more focused. Well, recently we kind of, as I said, we've combined quite a bit, but before we came together, we're more focused on like council strategies as well. So helping creating events, but also changing and monitoring policies, youth-proofing documents, having meetings with like now, so the North East London Foundation Trust. Oh, yeah, I think that is right, the NELF. So that's the sort of differences, but similarities as well with the YIAG and the young advisors.
Oh, wow. That's really great to hear. I can imagine they've had a huge positive impact in our community. So here's this question, an interesting question for you. If you had the power to change anything in your community, what would it be?
Oh, snap. I don't even know. So if I had the power to change anything in my community, if I'm going to go off the feedback that I've had from young people when we're out on street-based patrols, it would be to have more and better youth services. Now, I don't mean services like if you get referred into, let's say, Change, Grow, Live, which is a substance misuse service for young people or young adults. I mean more youth hubs, open spaces where you don't feel as though like you have to be there because your teacher told you to go there, or whatever it may be, like just open spaces where young people can feel comfortable and then engaging with adults or professionals that actually want to be there and you can have a good conversation with. And it's not just they're telling you off for something or they're telling you should go finish your GCSEs, but you can have like real conversations with people that understand on a level with you. Because at the moment, the only hub that I'm aware of that is like that is the Outlet Centre, which is run by Steve Barnabas Project Zero. And that's in the whole of Waltham Forest. And as we know, in Waltham Forest, we have 4 towns, so to speak. So definitely more, either one in each town or more, I would say about 3 in each town. So that like different wards it's easy access rather than having to cross through and get bus here, there and everywhere. So it would definitely be more youth hubs.
Yeah.
With people that run by people that's respected by the young people.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I really hope to see more of that as well. I think that would be really beneficial. You mentioned Street Base just then. Would you want to tell us more about Street Base and the work that we do with that?
Yeah, Street Base is bloody awesome. So in a nutshell, so it's funded by the Mayor of London's Young Londoners Fund.
Okay.
And we were successful in the first round. So we're funded for 3 years. Actually, the 3rd year is this year, so it ends in December 2021. So it's trademarked to the Young Advisors charity, with Southwark Young Advisors being the first ones to ever, well, they created Street Base. So they're the first ones to have Street Base. Waltham Forest is the second, then it's Lambeth, and soon Redbridge. So it's spreading. So it gets our young advisors and YIAG members to go out in hotspot areas of Waltham Forest and engage with young people. Now, in the very beginning, it was just I can't say just, but, it was signposting young people to positive activities or referring them to services. So when I say positive activities, we'd engage with the young person. Every conversation is different. Well, let's say this young person is interested in becoming a solicitor, but they can't afford to go to uni because they're looking after their 4 other siblings or whatever it may be. Then we take their contact details down. And if I have an opportunity on my database about apprenticeships or work experience in law or internships, then I'll call that young person or email whatever contact info they gave and let them know about that opportunity happening. Majority of our opportunities are in Waltham Forest, but for example, like law firms, not all law firms with certain opportunities will be in Waltham Forest, but, so we let them know what's happening there. And we'll also refer them on to services. So if a young person, especially, this was very key in the June times because of exam stress. Yeah. Young persons like suffering from anxiety or like high levels of stress and they're not able to cope, then we'll refer them on to, let's say Coof was a really popular one at one point. So it's an online mental health platform and it's anonymous. So the young person can just vent and they can read what other young people are going through. So there's like a little online forum, but they can also have the chance to speak to professionals online via chat box. So that's what young people did. Well, that's what Street Base, did at the very beginning. However, since COVID came through, we adapted quite massively. So we moved quite a lot of our engagements online in terms of promoting other organizations, workshops or sessions that they're doing. But then we also had our surveys digital. When it was the first coronavirus patrol, so coronavirus happened, lockdown happened 23rd of March. Our first patrol was the 4th of April, so like literally a week later.
Oh, wow, okay.
We were engaged with young people. So we found out not every young person really understood what lockdown meant, what the restrictions were, what they were and wasn't allowed to do. So we went out and advised them and gave them the actual information that was needed and encouraged them to actually go home as well if they were, conspiracy theorists and etc. That's what we did at the very beginning. And then since then we've actually been trained up. So our early help coordinator in the council has trained our leads. So the street-based leads who are over 18 have safeguarding training. They train us up in adolescent at-risk training so we can do one-to-one peer mentoring with young people that are referred through the multi-agency safeguarding hub. So those that came through the MASH, so schools will refer young people with any issues through the MASH. And that means that any professional that are safeguarding young people would have to kind of like take that up and action for that young person. So we would be mentoring young people. And we still do.
Wow, that is amazing. Wow.
Biggest nutshell ever.
It was so nice to see your face light up when you were talking about street based. It's really clear to see how passionate you are about what you do. So what are your aspirations? What is your dream? What motivates you to do what you do so well?
It's literally, without sounding cheesy, it's young people, and not just the young people engaged with on the street, but it's young people I work with.
Okay.
So like on the books trained in street based, our street based training is very, very, very intense. It's like 6 hours.
Wow.
So that's like conflict management, observational awareness, risk assessment, safeguarding.
Yeah.
A lot. So we have 52 young people, white IAGs and white age trained. And obviously every young person's doing their own thing. Some gone off to uni, some got like full-time jobs, whatever it may be. So I have like 12, 13 very active ones. And they're just awesome. Without, again, sounding really weird and cheesy about it, but they're just awesome. And to see like what they're willing to do, the shifts they're willing to go on as well, and the patience they have for us and people who commission us, and what the council may like requests as well, and actually adhering to that and getting brilliant results.
Yeah,
it's them. They're awesome. And so, like, as I say, we get commissioned and requested to do so many different types of patrols. And it's a lot of information to take in sometimes. And sometimes with the young people I'm working with, my team, they really have to like be experts in different fields, because not only do they have to go out to the field and engage with young people and do the surveys, but the young people ask loads of questions as well. And, you know, as being young people are like, they don't really, they say what they mean and they mean what they say. They're very blunt. So we're at the forefront of that sometimes when we're doing certain engagements. For example, you know, there was a killing late October, I want to say.
Yeah.
And the police had to do an anniversary appeal, which means that after a week, they go out and ask, you know, people in the area where the killing happened, you know, did you see anything? What happened? Or did you know the person? And so they are street-based to help and engage with the young people, because naturally young people wouldn't really engage with the police officers. So we didn't patrol with the police officers. We went earlier. And so for our team to go and ask those sort of questions and kind of get like the responses from the young people were really like curious as to why we were, you know, at the forefront of that sort of engagement.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we got the results. Young people a lot more open with us and gave information that otherwise would have been told to teachers and police officers. So yeah, man, they're it.
Yeah. Yeah, you might say it's cheesy, but I say we need more people like you. I think what you do is great.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Of course, you've got so many accomplishments to be proud of. What about the challenges? What challenges have you had to overcome on the way?
For me personally, when I was just starting out, this was actually my first ever full-time, well, I work part-time, but like full-time stable job that I really wanted to get, and I really saw myself, you know, thriving in. And so when you're with that, when you're first starting out and establishing yourself, because it wasn't just me new, it was street-based that was new in the borough. Yeah. So we really had to boost, you know, the presence of street-based. And I found it hard to say no.
Okay.
So I said we would get some crazy requests, or not even crazy, but a lot. So because street-based, like Waltham Forest hasn't seen a peer-to-peer engagement program like this before. And organisations that work in the borough as well, would get loads of commissions coming through. And sometimes it was very, like at the very beginning as well, it was really overwhelming, because not only did I have to understand what each commission was, what they were asking for, what sort of results they're looking for, but then to outsource that to the team and then manage that. So for example, like 2 patrols would be a commission, and then a 3rd patrol after that would be B commissioning back to A. So it was a lot to of balance. And then again, like, I didn't have to do much of the budgeting. My manager, Jane Brissica, did have to do that. But it's like understanding which budget was coming from where. And yeah, it was a lot. So saying no. And then on top of that, Street Base had a lot of media attention in the beginning, like a lot, which I'm thankful for. But again, it was a saying no bit where I felt as though it was kind of compromising our integrity a bit, because again, at the beginning, there were a lot of cameras or journalists out with us, or we were meeting up with them as we were on patrol. And I felt as though we weren't really able to establish ourselves as a fully 100% youth program when we were meeting up with journalists, et cetera, coming out on patrol with us or meeting them in McDonald's, let's say. And so I feel like there was a lot of media that kind of like bombarded us at the beginning. Okay. But now it's kind of calmed down. We've kind of established ourselves in Waltham Forest. And obviously the media, it was always good press, but I just felt as though Street Base needed to kind of get up and running first and to establish ourselves and our respect amongst young people before we started to really claiming all this glory, if that made sense. So that was a challenge at the beginning.
So of course, a lot of the work that you're involved in is obviously a lot about increasing work and education opportunities and protecting vulnerable groups of young people. So what, through that work and also with other future plans that you have, what would be your ideal vision of a successful community for young people? What is your ideal vision of a prosperous community?
Where young people can literally walk in to any service, shop, whatever it may be in the community, and feel welcome there, for one. Two, for the young people to know what's available to them without having to, get in a really awkward situation or be kicked out of school before all services are thrown at them or opportunities are thrown at them and their parents. Yeah. That's for two. And then for three, for more opportunities to be meaningful. So not just a tick box thing where, they'll do this for the summer, for the half term, and then it goes quiet. And if they're excluded from school, they've got to stay at home until the next half term comes and they can enjoy whatever program it is. Yeah. Where they actually can get something long term, like the opportunity I was able to get when, James, the previous young vice manager, came to my school and at 12 years old, I'm still an opportunity 10 years later. So, opportunities like that would really like boost the community, but also the young people's hopes and aspirations as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So just to wrap up this episode, one final question. What advice would you give to other young people? So any young person listening to this right now, what would you want them to hear from you?
Any opportunity you get, make the most of it. Do not burn bridges. That's another one I learned. Don't ever burn bridges, because you never know when you need that contact. It could be months or years down the line. You never know who you meet and what they can offer to you. So definitely make the most of any opportunity you receive. Again, I was 12 years old and I'm 24 now with a 3-year-old child. And I'm living off this opportunity I was given when I was 12. And also burning bridges. I've made contacts through this job like that are crazy. And now as this funding is coming to an end in December, which means my job is coming to an end in December, I've been able to actually email a contact I made a few years ago and ask for a job. So again, make the most of every opportunity. Do not burn bridges. That is it.
Wow. Katy, it has been amazing to talk to you. Thank you so much for being a part of our episode. It's been so inspiring to hear all the admirable work that you've done. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you both. Thank you.